Information shared on the following program is for general information purposes only. It does not constitute legal, tax, investment, or other advice, nor is it intended to recommend any particular investments, products, or financial instruments. Always seek advice from your financial advisor, attorney, or accountant with regard to investment, legal, or tax questions.
Welcome to the only show in the country dedicated to helping savers worry less about money, the WorryFree Retirement, with your host, nationally recognized retirement specialist and six-time author and fiduciary, Tony Walker.
We start out today's show with an important question. Not a question as to why it takes a $100 bill to buy 2 bags of groceries, nor a question as to why it takes so much more money to fill up your car at the pump. Not even a question as to why we can't get to haggle over the new price of a car or a used car and instead are forced to pay whatever's on the sticker. But rather, the question for the day is this one. Why is service we expect from those we invest our money with not keeping up with the amount of money they are making on our money? As someone who is in the service business, I can attest to the fact that ever since the pandemic washed upon our shores back in 2019, the level of service from many of the vendors and institutions we use at Tony Walker Financial have all but, shall we say, lost the personal touch of service we once expected. Articles and polls such as this one back up my thoughts on poor service and a lack of that personal touch one might expect when one does business with others. But never fear, because today I'm going to share with you how we at Tony Walker Financial continue to provide the same great service our saver clients expect and have experienced for decades, the secret to that personal touch we call service. Well, welcome, folks, to the WorryFree Retirement, and I am that little man in the sweater vest, service expert and personal touch expert, Tony Walker. And today, before we share with you the personal touch, the services we offer to savers who are retired or looking to retire soon, let me introduce 2 young lads in the WorryFree Production Studios who know a thing or two about the personal touch needed to produce this show each week. America's favorite financial sidekick, Mr. Aaron Orender, along with Louisville, Kentucky's most laid-back graphics artist, Mr. Derek Hudson. Okay, let me set the stage for our show with a call I received the other day from a retiree by the name of Peggy, who had this to say regarding her long-term relationship with a huge brokerage firm who out of the blue lost that personal touch, as Peggy writes the following. Tony, I currently have over $500,000 with a large brokerage firm who, for a fee, provided me with a personal representative located in another state who I could speak to by phone regarding my account at any time. Recently, I discovered the advisor I spoke with was no longer with the firm. The frustrating part is that nobody from the company contacted me to let me know. So how do I know this won't happen if I move my money over to Tony Walker Financial? Well, Peggy is someone who personally talks to hundreds of savers each year and has 3 salaried fiduciaries on staff assigned to help our clients as well. We are hearing more and more stories like Peggy's, whereby the service and personal touch people once expected from their advisors in these large financial institutions has all but disappeared. So if you're starting to feel like a number and looking for a second opinion on your retirement, stay tuned as I share with you the 5 keys to the personal touch of Tony Walker Financial. I'll be right back. Did you realize that if you have more than $250,000 in retirement assets, the government could tax as much as 40% of it when you go to take it out? And with current tax rates set to expire in 2025, the taxes you will owe on your 401k could climb even higher. Don't wait until 2025 to see how much Uncle Sam will take of your money. Get a game plan by logging on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. That's TonyWalkerFinancial.com.
And now it's time for Tony in the Trenches.
Welcome back, everyone, to the WorryFree Retirement, and this TNT comes to us from Jeff in Louisville. Tony, 10 years ago, I moved all my money to Tony Walker Financial, except for one account I had with a large brokerage firm since this account had performed well. I recently was notified that I had been assigned, and I quote, a digital advisor. With that said, I want to thank you for the personal touch provided by Tony Walker Financial and look forward to you guys moving this account over to your firm ASAP. Thanks for keeping it real.
Well, thank you, Aaron, and thank you, Jeff. We truly do appreciate your comments and feedback. And yes, we promise to keep it real by providing you top-notch service with the personal touch that includes myself, 3 salaried fiduciaries, and 15 full-time staff whose sole mission is to provide a level of service to our clients that is second to none. So let's get back to this interesting poll taken about America's thoughts on things so-called getting back to normal since the pandemic. And notice that while most feel the pandemic is history, so is the way of life we once enjoyed. In other words, it appears that many people feel that things may never get back to normal. And when it comes to normal, our focus today is the normal level of service we once expected prior to the pandemic. To me, while there are some people who still value service and do their best to provide it, what has been lost is that personal touch that goes above and beyond what the client and customer expects. Personally, myself and my staff have noticed a decrease in the level of service we expect from many of the financial institutions that we deal with on a daily basis. Increased waiting times on the phones, difficulty in finding people at these companies who know what they're talking about, getting mixed answers from company representatives, and occasionally the attitude from employees of some of these companies that says, hey, I really don't care what your problem is. And it's not just the frustration we feel when trying to deal with the big financial companies we place our clients' money with, but the frustrations voiced to myself by the many savers who are reaching out to Tony Walker Financial in hopes of finding someone who will provide that personal touch of service, just like Peggy. And seeing as though we work with thousands of savers, one thing I can tell you about savers is that they love the personal touch of service, such as that which we offer at Tony Walker Financial. So what does the personal touch look like? Well, let's take a look at this. Number one, it starts with answering the darn phone by a live operator. You know, when you call during normal business hours, you're going to get a voice, a live human being. You're not going to get a tape-recorded message or having to go through 10 minutes worth of prompts trying to find a live person. Number two, I love this. When you do reach out to someone on the other end of the phone at Tony Walker Financial, we are going to find the staff member that's going to have the answers to your question right away. This is why I employ so many people. I want to make sure that I can stay in touch with my clients, but also have plenty of staff to answer their questions and their service needs as they come up. Number three, unlike a lot of institutions where you can't ever meet the owner of the company or meet with someone in person like Peggy, who had to have a long-distance relationship with some advisor, at Tony Walker Financial, you're either going to meet with myself or one of our highly trained salaried fiduciaries at no additional cost to you. Number four, at Tony Walker Financial, you will receive phone calls from us on anything that we think might improve your financial situation. Whether it's a recommendation to changes in your investments, tax savings ideas that we think you need to know about, or simply times when we need to monitor your progress as you move through retirement, you can rest assured that Tony Walker is going to reach out when we think there are things you need to be aware of. Number five, I like this one, evidence that people that handle your money really, truly thank you for your business. And we do this in visible ways, such as the many thank you notes that I write to my clients and referrals we get from people, the personal phone calls that we make to our clients, and of course, we can't leave out the annual client appreciation events we host so that all clients, again, know how much we appreciate their trust and confidence in us to handle their life savings. So if you're not currently experiencing the personal touch you feel like you deserve, why not take advantage of speaking to myself or one of our highly trained financial fiduciaries by taking advantage of something we call the free 10-minute fiduciary phone call. It's easy to do. Just log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com, click on that Let's Get Started, or of course you can always call the toll-free number on your screen. Well, when we come back, another interesting Tony in the Trenches is read to us by our own Aaron Orender. Stay tuned. I'm Tony Walker. You're watching the WorryFree Retirement. We'll be right back. Have you recently retired, been laid off, or offered a pension buyout? Has the company you work for moved, been acquired, or closed its doors forever? And finally, do you have a 401k with a previous employer you'd like to move to safer territory? Then take advantage of this opportunity to move your 401k or lump sum pension to Tony Walker Financial. Let's meet in person to discuss your retirement options. Log on now to TonyWalkerFinancial.com to schedule your free, no obligation appointment. Let us help you today.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the WorryFree Retirement. I am America's favorite financial sidekick, Mr. Aaron Orender, and this TNT comes to us from Richard in Floyd's Knobs. He asks, Tony, I just turned 62 last week and wondering, with all of the uncertainty over the future of Social Security, should I take Social Security payments now or wait?
Well, Richard, this is the age-old question that nobody can really verify, because to determine when to take Social Security benefits depends on the following. Here goes. Number one, are you married or single? For instance, if someone comes to me at the age of 62 and is single, there's a good chance I'm going to suggest they start Social Security as soon as possible, seeing as though when they die, the Social Security ends. But now if they're married, the game changes. And other factors fall into the equation of when best to start this Social Security. It could be based on what's left to the spouse at death, and a number of other things that we have to determine when we have two spouses involved in terms of when to start drawing Social Security. Number two, what is the likelihood of you living a long time? And while I know nobody knows for sure how long they might live, to understand one's life expectancy, you got to take a look at other family members. For instance, mothers and fathers, how long did they live? Brothers and sisters, and then even your own health in terms of thinking about when to begin those Social Security payments. Here's a good one. How much do you have in pre-tax accounts, and whether you might wish to draw those first and deal with that tax tumor now? You see, knowing that all of that money you see inside that tax-infested 401k or IRA of yours is not really yours, but a lot of it's Uncle Sam's, that's going to play a big part into when to start Social Security, since all of Social Security is not taxed as much as your 401k or IRA. Number four, knowing that the trust fund is scheduled, that's right, the trust fund that backs this stuff is scheduled to run out of money, and whether you think the government's going to be able to fix this problem. Now, here's an article that talks about what kind of measures they might take, which Republicans currently, as we record this show, we're talking about putting off the age of Social Security and many other things that they might have to do to make sure this trust fund doesn't run out of money. Now, before I go to the whiteboard and share with you a case study of how we provide the personal touch in helping people retire worry-free and how they go from a paycheck to living on what we're going to send them in the way of a paycheck after they retire, I thought it would be good to take a few minutes just to go over the personal touch that you're going to discover in our 5-step process we call the Worry-Free Retirement. And let's start with what I call clarify your vision. You know, on this show, we're always talking about the free fiduciary phone call and meeting with me in person. Folks, this is a game changer, because assuming you're retired or retiring soon and you're going to be meeting with me, I'm going to use my nearly 40 years of experience in meeting with over 15,000 savers to quickly help you understand and clarify what it is you're trying to accomplish in retirement. This is so important, because if you get off the wrong track here and start working on a plan for the future and it doesn't match your goals and objectives, well, what's the point? Then the second step of our process we call the assessment phase. And again, this is where I use my experience to take that first meeting, all of that financial data that I've collected, all those interviews that we've done together, and I'm going to put that in our proprietary software we call the assessment. I'm going to do the assessment myself. I'm going to hand that off to the income planning department. This usually takes anywhere from 4 to 6 hours complete. Again, absolutely free, no charge to you. We're going to provide that assessment. And then we're having our second appointment. That's called the commitment phase. Now, that doesn't mean it's high pressure. It doesn't mean you have to do business with us. But this is where the rubber meets the road. I'm going to share with you my findings, and you're going to be able to take that binder, review it with me, even take it home and study it, because you're going to find out that this is the first time in your life that you've actually seen all of your information laid out in such a manner. I know it's going to be the first time you've ever seen it because I created the software. We're the only ones that have this proprietary software that helps you see what you've got, how it's going to be used, and how long this money is going to last, which with our proprietary split IRA concept is the rest of your life. Number 4, this next step is really important. We call this the onboarding phase, and this is where we step into action. All of our Schwab department, our annuity department, our onboarding specialist, all of those people are going to come together. We're the ones that are going to take the initiative and help you move all of your money over to Tony Walker Financial. We generally can do this at no out-of-pocket cost. We can avoid any taxes to move the money over. And of course, we can set up all those links to your checking account so that anytime you need money, anytime, no matter what the circumstances are, through our split IRA process, we're going to have access to that money so we can get that money to you at no additional out-of-pocket cost or surrender charges. We also will do all the withholdings on the taxes. As you're going to see in a minute on the whiteboard, we do it all, and we do this for only 0.8% per year of the money we have managed with Charles Schwab, about half of the fees charged by the industry. And finally, nobody does this because most people don't have a game plan. If you don't have a game plan, what's to monitor? With Tony Walker Financial, we are going to take the initiative to monitor your progress to make sure that you're following the game plan and everything matches with what we have set up. If there have been changes or unexpected surprises come your way, we're going to meet with you, go over that game plan, and get that adjusted so that it reflects whatever is happening in your life. Because remember, folks, only one thing's for sure in retirement. I've done this a long time. Things will change. And without that game plan, when these changes come your way, you're going to start worrying. Okay, I wanted to, in our remaining time, kind of go over to the whiteboard and share with you something that came up the other day. This was a couple that came in, and I think they're going to be moving their money over pretty soon to Tony Walker Financial. They've gone through all these steps, and now we're at the commitment phase. They've taken the binder home, but right before this couple left, it was really interesting. I mean, this comes up all the time. This gentleman has worked 40 years with the same company, and he made this comment about Tony. He used these words: I received a paycheck all of my life. How are you guys going to take all this money, my 401k and all these assets, and replace that paycheck? So how do we replace your paycheck? And so let's look at this. In its simplest form, this gentleman has a 401k. We'll just use $500,000, change the names and the amounts to protect the innocent. And in its simplest form, again, we call this the split IRA concept. So you have to remember something. A lot of people forget this. When you get into retirement, you're seeing your paycheck, but that's called a gross paycheck. In fact, put this up full screen. This is an example. Look at all the deductions that come out of this paycheck. Folks, it's horrific. And in fact, when you narrow it all down, by the time you subtract all this stuff out, if you're making $1,000 a month, you're only getting about $500 net. I mean, it's about half of whatever you think you're making. Well, when you move into retirement, you're not going to have all these deductions. In fact, the only deductions you're going to have, and we do all this for you, is your federal taxes and some state income taxes. That's it. So I get it. For some people, it's very difficult to envision how this is going to play out and how we're going to send this paycheck, if you will, and so that they don't miss a beat. So in this example, we might put $200,000, I'm going to abbreviate that to Charles Schwab, in Charles Schwab. Now, that's the investments that we're charging the 0.8%, okay? And what we do, our office is link this to your checking account. So you will not change your checking account. You keep that with your present institution, wherever you're getting your Social Security and everything else. That stays the same. We don't take over your checking account. What we do with this link, and there's never any transaction fees. This is important. Okay, never any transaction fees to move money over here. So, for instance, you might say, well, Tony, can we start off? I think I'm going to need about $2,000 a month in retirement. Can you guys figure all the taxes and withhold all that so I don't have to monkey with that? Yep, absolutely, not a problem. Tony, what happens if I need $20,000 or $30,000? Is that going to cost me a big penalty to get it out of Schwab? Nope, no penalty at all. We'll figure out the taxes. You'll be seeing a net check drop right in your checking account in about 4 or 5 days after the request. So easy peasy, we do it all in-house. You never have to contact Schwab. Then over here with the remaining balance, again, this fluctuates depending on what people are trying to accomplish, but we might put $300,000 in an annuity. It could be a short-term annuity, long-term annuity. Folks, there's all kinds of annuities out there. Many of you are rushing into buying these annuities. Please, 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 if you're thinking about buying an annuity, before you make a mistake of getting stuck in the wrong annuity, order this free guide. I call it Annuities Made Easy. You can download it at TonyWalkerFinancial.com, or if you want to, just email Gina at TonyWalkerFinancial.com and we'll mail you a hard copy. But it's a great booklet on annuities. So what happens is, as this starts getting drained down, if we need to, we can slide money from the annuity over to refill that bucket, or best of all, depending on what type of annuity we have in place, we could even provide you some of that beloved
mailbox money.
So folks, I don't know about you, but if you don't have a game plan like this that basically helps you envision replacing the paycheck you're getting ready to lose when you retire, if you don't feel like anybody's there to provide the personal service to do all these behind-the-scenes things at no additional out-of-pocket cost, somebody you can call anytime you need money during retirement, my question is, why not? My name is Tony Walker, and for nearly 40 years, I've literally met in person with over 15,000 savers. I've orchestrated and overseen more than 5,000 written game plans, and we've got a staff that provides that personal touch that I believe is second to none. So why don't you take advantage of contacting us now? If you're retired, nearing retirement, maybe you got an old 401k sitting somewhere that nobody's handling for you and you need that personal touch, log on right now to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. Click on that Let's Get Started button. We'll respond immediately. Never a cost or obligation. If the internet's not your thing, you just want to give us a quick call, just call the toll-free number on your screen at 1-877-499-9255. Well, does the Bible have anything to say about the personal touch that God provides all of those who might believe in Him? You bet. Some really good news coming up. Let me grab a cup of coffee. I'll be right back. Our employee spotlight shines brightly on Miss Caitlin Decker. Good morning, Caitlin.
Good morning.
And when did you start with Tony Walker Financial?
Started August 2023.
And what was your experience prior to joining our firm?
I was in banking for several years.
And since that time, you've been working under the service department, but explain your role currently in helping our clients.
So I just do client services such as sending in requests for address changes, beneficiary changes, just things of that nature.
And now that you've been here, would you say, when you come to work, what's the most enjoyable thing about working for our organization?
Being able to help those clients with their changes and whatever they need to do on their accounts.
And for our clients to be able to call the service department, all the folks there, including you, it's just a wonderful thing, and we appreciate your hard work so much, Caitlin, and glad you're aboard with Tony Walker Financial.
Thank you, Tony.
You're so welcome. Wondering how much money you'll need to retire? Probably a lot less than you think. I'm retirement specialist Tony Walker, and for the past 36 years, I've helped thousands of savers determine when to retire and how much money they'll need in retirement, and I can help you too. To meet in person at no cost or obligation, let me invite you to log on right now to TonyWalkerFinancial.com or call the toll-free number on your screen. We look forward to talking with you soon.
Tired of the roller coaster ride of the stock market? Let Tony Walker show you how to smooth out the ride with your money. Log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com and let's get started.
While I'm quite proud of the personal touch we at Tony Walker Financial provide our clients, it pales in comparison to the personal touch provided some 2,000 years ago by a man who proclaimed to be the Son of God, Jesus Christ. As I scour the pages of Scripture trying to understand what made him so effective in providing that personal touch to all that might believe, I believe his secret was what we humans today refer to as being present. In other words, it was not always what Jesus said, but the way he said what he said, and the way he was always present around not only his disciples, but the masses. Speaking of the power of the personal touch, look at what happens in Luke 8:43 and 44, when a woman who has suffered for years with a disorder that no physician can heal simply decides by faith to reach out and touch Jesus, immediately being healed. Now that's what I call the power of being present. This incident of Jesus always being present in the lives of believers reminds me of this time years ago while having lunch with a buddy who I'll refer to as Brian. Well, at that time, Brian was really struggling in life and having trouble finding anyone who could give him answers to life's most difficult questions. After lamenting on for what seemed to be hours, he all of a sudden hung his head and said, "If only Jesus were sitting right here beside me, I bet he could tell me what to do." To which I replied, "Brian, he is." You know, this idea of Jesus being seated with us at all times might take a leap of faith, but if you're a believer in God's Word, it's true. In fact, the Bible is full of passages that at this point, Jesus says he is always with us. Whether beside us in the pews at church, a table at a restaurant, or while standing over a 9-iron, you can count on God to always be present. In fact, according to Ephesians 1:20, based on the finished work of Jesus Christ, it says we're already seated with him in heaven. In other words, we don't need to wish that Jesus could come down to earth and sit beside us because, according to God's word by faith, we're already seated with him. You know, the power of this reality of knowing he is always present with us gives us the strength to overcome the worries we will face here on earth, just like Brian. So friend, assuming you're looking for that personal touch that no human can provide, maybe you're at a point in life where the worries and struggles of this world are getting too much to handle. Why not turn to the personal touch of God as described in Romans 8:39, that there is nothing in this world that can separate you and I from the presence of God and that true personal touch found in Jesus Christ. Amen? Well, how about you? Do you feel lost that personal touch with the big boys handling your 401k is just gone? Or maybe the advisor who no longer gives you the attention and detail that you once received. If you're retired or retiring soon, let's do this. Let me invite you to take advantage of a free service we call the free 10-minute fiduciary phone call. And here's how easy it is to speak to myself, Tony Walker, that's right, the owner of the company, about your personal situation. Just log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com, and right there you're going to see that little red box. When you click on that, that information is confidentially sent to our offices, and then we will arrange that free phone call with myself. Then, after talking for a few minutes by phone, if it warrants, we're going to meet in person to discuss your situation, again, free of charge, at either our Bowling Green, Louisville, or Lexington, Kentucky offices. Internet not your thing and just want to give us a call? No problem. Just call the toll-free number on your screen. Well, we hope you've enjoyed today's program. We've enjoyed being with you, but you remember, between now and next week, if all else fails, you be worry-free and make it a good one.